this next story. Uh, Personally, I try really hard to. I use Twitter for politics. I use Facebook for mainly, especially my own personal Facebook page, for personal stuff. What's going on with family? I want to see, I got high school friends, I got college friends, I got, friends past that time. I just like to see what's going on in your life. I just like to see where you're traveling. I like to see pictures of your kids. That's what I use Facebook for. At least my personal page. Again, hoystory.facebook.com/hoystory.com. You follow this Hoystory on air on Facebook. All my politics are there, but not my personal Facebook page. So that's how I try and divide things. I don't like to see politics on Facebook because that's not what I go to Facebook for. But this is actually the little brother of a college friend of mine, is broken. He got broke by Trump on the left. He once lectured to me on the Midas touch. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. It's like Midas with an E, M-E-I. Is a media outlet that's very left-wing. If you go to, one of those sites that kind of tries to quantify it, it is as far left as Breitbart is right. Okay, so it's kind of the equivalent. It's further left than National Review is right. So he posted this yesterday. ICE detains U.S. citizen women driving to work dressed in full medical scrubs. Why that matters, I don't know. Quote, "I'm a U.S. citizen. Please help me," she cries. "Why are you doing this to me?" Woman was dragged out of car, tackled to ground, and handcuffed. Agents finally checked driver's license to prove her citizenship and did eventually release her. DHS issued a statement claiming that she had initially refused to roll down her car window all the way. The incident occurred near Rowell's Waterfront Park in Key Largo, Florida. And there's a picture of her. And then we have this genius over here. This is not my friend. This is all part of one post. I've chopped it into two pieces and kind of separated it. To the half of America ignoring stories like this, you won't be able to look away forever. Not when masked man shows up at your own door. That's when you'd wish you'd done something before the Bill of Rights was torched. And then the resistance. Are you paying attention yet? So here's the thing. I get the feeling, because I have more than two brain cells to rub together, that this is not the entire story. So I go and I Google it. Or actually use Bing most of the time, but that's just me. Punch in woman scrubs arrested ICE, and up comes Newsweek article. Woman in medical scrubs says she's a U.S. citizen while being dragged from car. I think I got the right story. A woman wearing medical scrubs was forcibly removed from her car by federal immigration agents in Key Largo, Florida, footage shows. During the incident, which occurred on Wednesday morning, the woman could be heard shouting that she was a U.S. citizen as agents detained her. This is from the ICE, or a Customs Border Patrol spokesman. During a traffic stop, a U.S. citizen who was driving her illegal alien boyfriend's car refused to comply with repeated lawfully given orders by law enforcement to identify herself. She was removed from the vehicle and briefly held while her identity was confirmed. She was promptly released once her identity was confirmed. So, let me give those of you who are not wise in the ways of this world. This is the speech I would give to if I were teaching a driver's ed class. When you're pulled over, and it's a lawful, you were lawfully pulled over in this case, look, and I don't know the answer to this one, how an illegal alien registers a car successfully. That blows my mind a little bit. I don't know how that occurs. I don't know what the rules are. But it's a little odd that if you're here illegally, you're able to register a car. So they pull her over. Probable cause. He's here illegally. It's his car. They can't tell from behind, who's in it necessarily. So they pull her over and they say, whose car? They do the whole thing. You've been through this before. If you've ever been pulled over, you've kind of been through this before. License and registration. And proof of insurance. That's the other. License, registration, proof of insurance. And she refused to identify herself. And I pointed out to my friend, who's lost brain cells by the bushel since Trump got into office, says, well, they don't. They're just running around, grabbing Americans. And it's like, no, she was lawfully pulled over. If you're driving in a car and they pull you over, you have to show them ID. Now, here's where I put in a recommendation. Again, I've mentioned this before probably. The Civil Rights Lawyer channel, check him out, because there are cases where people get pulled over and it's not a legal stop. The officer doesn't have probable cause to even start with pulling the driver over. But in all these cases, you worry about that afterwards. You don't go and get in a pissing contest with a cop on the scene. You make sure it's all recorded. You have your camera on, that sort of thing. And you get them later. Cop asks you for your ID. In this sort of situation where you've been pulled over, you're driving. Driving's a privilege. You show them the ID. My friend likened this to jaywalking. Like, well, okay. I guess, the civil punishment for illegally entering the U.S. is the equivalent to a misdemeanor jaywalking type thing. But if you've been deported and you come back in, then it's a felony. And frankly, from any of this reporting, we don't know what the status of her boyfriend is. Has he been deported before? Does he have a deportation order? Did he enter? We don't know what the deal is. All we know is that apparently she's driving his car, and they pull you over. You got to show ID. We're making a big deal out of someone who pulled a stupid. Further down in that story, Miami Herald reporter David Goodhue told WSVN they pulled her out and cuffed her. She was screaming. At one point, she said she's a U.S. citizen. They put her into one of their SUVs, and then 10 minutes later, they let her go. She would never have been pulled out of her car if she just handed them her driver's license. This is all on her. And I'll say this. I think, some of the stuff I've seen ICE and whatnot doing is a little troubling to me as far as, brutality and whatnot. I understand them covering their faces because of what people like this nurse are doing, doxing them online and threatening them and, that sort of stuff. But this idea that, I'll do something stupid and I'll get people, using that to attack the Border Patrol or ICE or whatnot. Givest thou me a break. She did this to herself. And I'm sure there are cases out there where ICE and Border Patrol have gone over the line. Use one of those. This isn't one of those. Okay? And I am sensitive to this sort of stuff. I've watched enough of the Civil Rights Lawyers channel and another one, good one's Audit the Audit, where there are cops. I don't know what the percentage is, but there are good cops and there are bad cops. And there are people who go into policing to help people, and there are people to go into policing because they like the power. They like to order people around. And it's the same for Border Patrol. It's the same for everything. But if there's excesses on the part of law enforcement, that's something you take care of at a later date. You show them the ID. It's like, oh, if you think you've been stopped illegally, you say, hey, what's your probable cause? I think you've stopped me illegally. And, you say that on camera, you make that case, and then you hand them the license. That solves this problem. But no, outrage. We must have outrage. Again, my suggestion, that's for Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it now. And the other is for, and I want to see pictures of your kids playing, some, sports, or you on vacation. That's Facebook. At least that's the way I feel. Thanks for watching this clip from the Hoystory On Air broadcast. I encourage you to follow me on Substack, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to thank you for your support, and please feel free to watch another video or 2 or 3.